What's happening, fight fans? Welcome back to episode 10 of the MMA Mindset Podcast. I know we've had a bit of time off, been busy, but glad to bring it back now. Got another Fighter Origins, joined by one of the top talents coming out of the UK at the moment. It's recently signed to Cage Warriors a while ago. Had a fight that fell through, but over the moon to welcome Bailey Gilbert. Thank you very much for coming on, Bailey.
Thanks for having us on, mate. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. Like I said, I've watched your career for quite a while now, and obviously saw what I thought was probably the biggest win of your career back in December against Thomas Paul. Can you kind of just talk us through how it was? Because I know you said to me after that fight, you were like, you expect big things to kind of come from that fight, and obviously it's happened. What was kind of the reaction after you'd beaten Thomas and obviously finished it in the first round?
Yeah, so it just kind of went nuts. Like I got a few offers from a few different shows in, and there was talks of other shows coming to Newcastle at the time. And there was a lot of buzz around it. I think it was the massive win for us, especially him coming off the Contender Series, and also the way I beat him as well. Like if you want to see an exciting fight with a bit of blood and a bit of violence, like that's the one. That's the one to watch. So it was a perfect win for us, and it was the biggest win of my career to date. And I just look forward to trying to top that every time.
Yeah, that was a crazy fight. I mean, my partner doesn't really like elbows because she knows the blood starts flowing. And that fight was just not for her because as soon as you got on top, you'd started landing those elbows. It was a bit crazy, but you seemed like you kind of were really confident that was how you were gonna win the fight anyway. You seemed really confident about getting that victory.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I feel great. I felt great going up into that fight, and it was probably the calmest I've ever been before a fight as well. Even though it was like my biggest test to date, he was knocking everyone out. Like it was for the golden ticket belt. It's a prestigious show. Like there was a lot of pressure, but I always feel that I rise to the occasion, and where a lot of people crumble under pressure. Like you get gym fighters who are mint in the gym, and then as soon as they have a fight, they crumble. I'm kind of the other way around. Is like I thrive on the pressure, and I just seem to do better for it. So yeah, so I think that all just added up to it for me.
Yeah, like you say, it was a class to be there and see it. But just obviously looking forward to what's kind of happening for you now. Just under 3 weeks to your under 2 weeks now, actually. Sorry, to your cage.
Tomorrow,
2 weeks tomorrow to your cage warriors
yeah,
debut.
man.
How you feeling, mate?
Feeling great, mate. Like honestly, just being hit another level. Like after my last fight in signing with Cage Warriors, training for that one, like I just felt like I hit like all new heights training for that. Just the people we've been sparring with. I've got like an S&C coach on board. Like, I mean, like everything's just dialed in now. I've had all the time in the world to get everything perfected and done. Now, like a fight camp, I just know exactly what I need to do. Focus on the game plan and then go from there. But I just feel like every single part of my game has hit a whole new level. I feel the fittest I've ever felt, the fastest I've ever felt. Everything just seems to be clicking into place, and it's a really good confidence booster. And just like watching the numbers go up when I'm doing me interval training and me weights and stuff, while my weights coming down at the same time, it's just a great confidence for me. Like
Yeah, did you ever come out of camp? Because I know you were preparing for Manchester, and that fell through last minute. Did you just keep on training up until you got another fight offer, or did you kind of come out and then reset and then go for another camp?
yeah, well that's the thing with me. I'm always training. I was training twice a day beforehand, and then I got that camp. Just kind of rearrange the intensity and stuff a bit, but I'm always like doing something twice a day. So as soon as that fight got cancelled, I just hopped straight on back onto my out of camp plan, building on that, ready for when the next one came because we knew it was going to be London. And although I'm only 23, there's no real time to be sitting about for me. I like to be constantly improving, like a 365-day athlete, just constantly building and getting better. So I just focused on some out camp stuff, and then once we got the fight matched and we were ready to go again, we just picked the intensity back up and straight back to it.
Yeah, I can kind of tell that that's how your career has gone because just especially over the last 2 years, you've kind of just hit this level and this floor, and it's been really special to kind of watch how much of you've improved over the last few years. How did the Cage Warriors opportunity come about? Because I know like I was messaging you when the Bellator thing was sniffing about, and they'd announced you on their social media. And I guess in by the way you said that people were sniffing around that were coming to Newcastle. I guess maybe PFL were kind of sniffing around you a little bit.
Yeah, mate. So I had a guy messages saying the PFL might be coming. Bellator, there was an offer there. Cage Warriors had actually been after us for since the start of the year. I got a message. My coach got a message at the start of the year, and we're turning around and says, "No, no, like this is what we're going to do. We're going to go win this belt and this belt, and then we're going to come do it." And instead of winning two, I won three. So yeah, I kind of like planned out the year ahead. I said it. If you watch one of me old interviews, I think it was me pre-fight interview on Unity. I said I'm going to win this belt. I want to win the golden ticket belt, and then I want to sign to Cage Warriors. And the Cage Warriors kind of came about because where do the best people go? They go to Cage Warriors. If you want to be the best in Europe and you want that step in the UFC, where do you go to Cage Warriors? I want to be in there with it, like a shark tank of a division and put myself in with the best. Like and the yellow gloves look pretty sick as well. So that was kind of always the route I was leaning towards anyway. And it's and ever since I've signed with them, they are great to work with as well. So like I've made the right decision.
Yeah, it seems to be the way that like most of the top UK talent go now. It seems to be Cage Warriors and then UFC if you can if you can get there and if you perform well. And I think there's quite a few of the guys now, especially in your division, that are going to be making that step up to the UFC. I think Jordan Vucenic won't be far off if he can keep getting himself wins. I think Paul Hughes is probably already on the radar. Just looking at the Tapology rankings, and I know it's not that much to go off, but you sit eighth in the rankings at the featherweights on Tapology, and the rest of the seven are all in Cage Warriors at the moment. Anyone that
Yeah.
kind of catches your eye, maybe for potential matchups?
No, the thing is, mate, I'm focused on Thomas Mearns, my next opponent. That's like every fight for me. The next fight's the biggest fight of my career. So I'm solely focused on Thomas Mearns, and at the end of the day, I'm on my journey. And Cage Warriors will offer us whoever they offer us, and we'll go from there. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting in and getting this one done, and I'm solely focused on that right now. I take it one step at a time, and we'll go from there, and then we'll see who comes next.
Yeah, Mearns is a great fight for you as well because it couldn't be a more perfect fight probably to welcome you to Cage Warriors because he's got loads of experience. He's fought in Bellator, he's fought in Cage Warriors. Was this kind of the type of opponent that you wanted? Because I think some people when they make their debut, they maybe get someone who's not really got as much experience as they are. But with Mearns, this guy's got loads of experience. He's a super tough fight, and is that kind of a fight that you wanted?
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it's a great fight for us. Like you said, he's a tough guy. He's like in there. He's putting the pace on. He wants to win it. He's like well rounded. He's got experience, like grizzly vet. So yeah, no, like it's a great fight, and like that's what we want. We want exciting fights like that. So yeah, it's a great test for us, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's a great start of the division and a great start of the Cage Warriors career that we're about to like lay a good path. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it always makes me dead happy when like someone like yourself whose career I've followed for a while and I've spoke to you and seen a lot of your fight signs for like the Cage Warriors because a few of my friends don't really pay attention to the regional scene but they'll pay attention to like Cage Warriors and they'll be like, oh, there's this new guy Bailey Gilbert fighting in London and I'm like, yeah, just wait because I'll be like 8 wins, all finishes. Is that just kind of something that you pride yourself on being like people want to tune in and when they tune in and see you fight, more than likely they're gonna see you finish someone by some sort of submission or ground strikes.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I like to finish fights. I like to put people away. You don't get paid by the hour, do you know what I mean? But like I always prepare for fights to go the distance, and I'm always like, yeah, I'll grind them out. When I get into the later rounds, I get better, and then I'm running through people. And then, but at the end of the day, that's what gets bums on seats. That's what gets people interested is putting people away, with like slick submissions or like violent finishes. So that's what we strive to do. But we're always ready to go with 5 rounds for the past 3 fights. I'll go 3 rounds, so ready to put a pace on. But we're always looking for the finish because that's what gets you noticed.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like I said, the going back to the Thomas Ball fight, I think the way you did it was kind of what people were like, shit. Because I think people kind of they held Thomas in really high regard. So beating him anyway would have put the people on notice. But destroying him like that in the first round would have is something that was just unbelievable to kind of see. Just looking back, moving back to like obviously the Newcastle area. I bet you'll have seen it. Cage Warriors Newcastle has just been announced. Personally, I'm going to get credentials for that as well. So I'd love to see you there. Is that something that you're interested in getting on?
Mate, Of course, there's no way you're going to come to Cage Warriors and do Newcastle and not put me on, man. Like, as soon as I seen it, I sent it to Rick because we were ideally aiming for Rome. I wanted to do Rome in October, and that's what we were aiming for next. And I just messaged Rick. I was like, yeah, like we are missing this, so sport to Cage Warriors in there. That's the plan after this one's to come to Newcastle. It'd be so sick. Like it's obviously a lot of me fights lately have been down Wolves, like Middlesbrough and Darlow, a little bit closer, but Newcastle's like home to me, so that's so sick. And the fact that it's been so long since they've been on there, like for them to finally be coming back, and like when I'm just starting me running Cage Warriors, I just think that's going to be so sick. And I know a lot of people who want to come through, and then you get to go out in the town afterwards. So sounds like a great night to me.
Yeah, that was the first name that came to my mind was getting you on that Cage Warriors card because it'd absolutely go off. Just obviously not looking past Mearns and that. How do you think that fight's going to go? How do you see it going?
The fight with Burns.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. So I just think I'll put a pace on him, man. Like, I just think he'll not be able to keep up. And that's the be all and end all of it. I'm ready for anything. Like whatever happens, I'm ready for it. Never felt more prepared for a fight in my life. Weight's coming down nicely. Everything's going great. Various game plans of like how we want to go about it. But whatever he brings to the table, it's just not going to be enough.
No, like I said, it'll be like I said, I think it'll be a bit of a spectacle. I don't quite know where you are in terms of the like whereabouts in the card you are, but yeah, I'll be definitely looking out for that fight when I'm watching it. Just going back the last couple of years, you've been on a absolute tear. Like you've been flawless for the past couple of years. What do you kind of attribute that to?
Just being consistent, mate. Like of since day one, it's always just been like I've been in the gym every day. You get people who are hit miss. You can just count on me to be there every day, and that's like I got a message the other day from a young lad asking for a bit of advice on his career and stuff. I says, mate, just show up. I says, you don't have to be the most naturally talented or gifted, or you don't even have to be that athletic. Just constantly, just keep turning up and be consistent with it and dedicate yourself to it and throw yourself at it 100%, and then it'll start to show. And that's pretty much how I went about it. I've just applied myself every day, and if even if you don't get better, even if you just as long as you show up, it just builds it. It builds habits and it builds a mentality. And now, like when I get up on the morning and I go train, I don't even think of, oh, do I want to go train the morning? It's just what I do. It's like I'd sooner miss a day at work than miss a day training. Like that's just, and that's how I attribute everything to, is just being consistent and just being dedicated to it.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about Manchester and obviously that fight falling through, I know it was obviously probably gutting for you at the time, but has it kind of worked out all right because you're making your debut in London now at the O2 in front on a UFC weekend as well? It's like it's going to be ram packed, and that Indigo at the O2 is incredible. I've been there to watch Cage Warriors before, and you're on the stage, and all the crowd are like round here. So has it kind of worked out a little bit like quite well for you?
Yeah, mate. So like the way I've said it for a long time is everything happens for a reason, and you're exactly where you're meant to be when you're meant to be there. And everything that goes wrong or what you feel like goes wrong is done so that you can learn from it, and it kind of teaches you a lesson in some way. And yeah, like that's exactly what I said to people when the messages was I get on the London card the night before the UFC. The brass are going to be kicking about. It's a mint venue, like you said. I went down and watched Buchanan versus Hughes too last year. There, it was bouncing. So yeah, it's all kind of way off. It's given me more time to improve, even though I didn't feel like that way at the time. Everything happens for a reason, and that's why I'm never really I don't really hold on to much. So I'm happy with how things turned out, and I try to be that way with everything.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I think you've got quite a positive mindset and quite a mature mindset. Is that something that you kind of work on as well? Is your mindset as well as your physical attributes and skills?
Yeah, I mean, like everyone says, like MMA is 90% mental, and it's just I'm just a strong believer in positive thinking breeds positive things. So like there's no point dwelling on things you can't control. It's just negative energy. It brings you down. And I think a lot of my mindset and approach to things came from fighting and the way I apply myself to training and stuff. But yeah, I think life's too short to look at things negatively, and you've just got to. There's nothing you can do to change things, so you've just got to kind of look for the lessons, look for the positives in it, and build on it that way, and improve on it that way. So like with this fight falling through, I just thought like, right, I just get to put 2 camps into this next one. Just more time to get ready. I'm 23. I've got plenty time. I'm already 12 fights deep into my pro career. Like, so what if I just get to get a bit better before the next one?
Yeah, exactly. Just saying, obviously, hey, we're 23, it moves us quite nicely into our fighter origins. In terms of being a fighter, you are so young. And I was looking at what the year you turned pro, and I just sat on sofa with our lass, and I said, you know, Bailey's only 23. And she was like, yeah. I was like, you know, he turned pro in like 2017. I was like, you must have been like 18. Were you a week off your 18th birthday, or were you a week off your 19th birthday?
Week off my 18th birthday, I turned pro at
That's
17.
mad.
Yeah.
That's mental. So just go back to the start. When did you first start like training any martial art at all?
So I actually didn't do anything ahead of time. I was always into me fitness and stuff. Like I was originally wanting to join the army, going down that kind of route, and I first started training when I was 15, and I just started straight into mixed martial arts. So like I didn't really come from any base like a boxing background or a wrestling background. I just kind of came into it all as a whole, which the same. Some people like to build a base in a certain way and then go that way, but like going into an MMA gym from the start, I got to learn what works and what doesn't off the bat. I didn't have to unlearn any bad habits. I got to learn what's useful and what works, and I build myself as an MMA fighter, not a boxer learning to wrestle or a wrestler learning how to do kickboxing. Like I just got to do it that way. So yeah, I started when I was like 15.
Christ almighty, 15 and then going to you making your pro debut just off your 18th. That's so mad to me because I think I see people who are like, they're making their pro debut at like 26, 27 and stuff like that. But I think what you've said there about going straight into MMA is probably the best way to do it because like if you're training just jiu-jitsu, you're gonna have to unlearn, like you said, those bad habits. Because if you're diving on a heel hook in MMA, you're going to get punched in the face quite a few times. And obviously, that's not going to happen in jiu-jitsu. So I think that was kind of the best way to go. Had you like watched a lot of MMA before and like a lot of the bit of the UFC?
No, mate. So I hadn't actually. I knew what MMA was roughly. I don't think I'd ever really watched any fights. Um, yeah, it was all pretty new to me. I actually got into it through one of my mates' dads. Used to train at the gym, and I always used to wind him up because when I'd see him in the street, yeah, like I knew he'd done it, like at cage fighting MMA, and I always like, I'd beat you up, man, I'd beat you up. And he's like, come up the gym then, try it out, try it out. And he must have pestered us for about a year to come try it. And one day I was like, do you know what, mate? I'll actually come up. And I think the first fight I ever watched was I got home and after the first session, I went on YouTube and I typed in MMA fights, and I think it was Gonzaga versus Myrtle Crow Cop when he hit him with the
Head
head
kick.
kick, and I think that's the first actual MMA fight I ever like sat down and watched, and then yeah, the rest is history. So no, it kind of came out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, it's mad to see how far you've come in like in reality, 8 years, that's such a short space of time. And to see 12 fights deep into a pro career after 8 years of training is incredible. And to be in Cage Warriors already is phenomenal. So obviously I'm guessing that your family and your friends were quite supportive when you decided that you wanted to fight.
Yeah, yeah. So like, a funny one actually is everyone always says, "Oh, so what's your mom think of it?" And my mom absolutely loves it. My mom thinks it's great. My mom's always believed in us that like whatever I want to go out there and do, whether it was go to uni, get a good job, or whatever path I wanted to go down, my mom always knew that I would apply myself and I could do it. So she's always had this like deep rooted belief in that I can achieve whatever I want. So she's always been massive for it, as much as you'd expect your mom not yet to want to see you get punched in the face. No, she loves it. And my dad loves it as well. Like they're all so supportive, and it's like kind of who I am as a person. Like everyone who knows that's what I do, and so yeah, everyone is massively supportive. All my friends love it. They come down and support. Like they travel all over, and I can't thank them enough. The like it's not a cheap weekend to come down, get a hotel, buy your drinks, buy the ticket. Like so, I appreciate them all. Like my girlfriend loves it. Like everyone's just supportive. They understand. I think like I talk about it so much, like they just understand that this is like what I live for. So they're all on board. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably so makes it a bit easier that your family are behind you, because I think I speak to some people and like they're still battling against their mum, they're still battling against their dad, saying, "Oh, you want to do this? Why don't you go out and get?" They call it a proper job and all that sort of stuff. So it probably makes it a bit easier on you that you've got that kind of support group. How long had you been training before you? Because you said 2015, and I know you had your fight. Hang on, I've got it here. You had your first fight, in September 2015, on Machine MMA. And how long had you been training for at that point?
So I started training the Easter. So what that'll be April, May, June, July, August, September. So a couple of months. But I had a boxing fight before that. Even though I wasn't training boxing, I came in the gym one day. My coach at the time says, "Do you want to have a boxing fight?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? We'll do that." So I went and had that, won that by TKO, and that was when I realised that like when you stand there, like you beat someone, everyone's shouting, screaming on, and at the time it's not loads of people because it's your first fight and you're just getting going, but everyone's going nuts, and like you're in like a workman's club or wherever you are, and you're just like, this is the best feeling in the world. Nothing comes close to this, and it was when I won that, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is like my life right here. This is what I want to make this my life. This is absolutely nothing comes close. And it's the same feeling every time and it only gets better. So
Yeah, do you remember how you felt making like your like even before the first boxing match, before your first MMA fight? Do you remember how you felt? Were you nervous? Were you scared, or were you just like buzzing?
like for me first boxing fight, I think it was more I'm here and I'm doing it, and I was just excited for it to be happening. Like I wasn't even really thinking about the actual someone's going to try and punch us in the face. Like I was just happy to be doing it and be going out and be like the center of attention and getting in front. As daft as that sounds, but for like it would be about me and I'm focused on it, and I was just so like I didn't get nervous at all for that fight. I was just happy to be doing it. And then it was like more so like later on where I was like, oh yeah, like people are actually trying to like hurt us, you know.
Yeah, that's. I bet it's like absolutely mental, because like I said I've competed before, but it was still like so young back then. Like I was like 18-year old. That was 9 year ago now, when it was like Cat C. When you still had to have like your pads on and stuff like that, and it was like the rules were so different. But yeah, that's class. That how come you decided to go pro so early, like so young?
Yeah, mate. So I just spoke to my coach at the time. He was like, "Mate, why don't you start making some money from it? Like you are like you've got skills. Why don't you start making some money from it? Plus, and then at the same time, like I just like to call myself a pro, and I'm always like the same reason I've got like a lot of fights is like I just like I'm young, but I just don't feel like I've got time. I feel like everything needs to be done now, and I've just got like even like with everything like outside of fighting, I've always been like if I want something, I'll go after it, and I've got to have it there and then, and it's so it's kind of that mentality. And when you said like, what do you feel? How do you feel about it? I was like, yeah, sign me up. Like, let's go. Like, I'd had 9 amateur fights, done a few grappling comps and stuff. Was doing well, so I was like, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably one of the youngest I've seen someone turn pro, like not even 18 yet, like a week out from your 18th birthday. But I think that kind of you've grown as a fighter in the pro ranks, whereas I think some people grow as a fighter in the amateur ranks, and then they have to contend with getting kneed in the head, elbowed, like those 4 ounce gloves and 5 minute rounds. But whereas I think you've learned your craft as a pro, and I think that makes you probably more well prepared than most other people at the in the UK at the moment. What was kind of the reaction from your family and friends when you told them that you signed with Cage Warriors? Because obviously that's on UFC Fight Pass. That's affiliated with the UFC. That's UFC, and then the next that's just a step underneath.
Yeah, so for like my family and friends, like I got a load of people sharing it and stuff. Like when it got announced, people messaging us, buzzing for us. But like for like those like closest to us, it wasn't really that much of a surprise because I've been telling them, like I said, for like a year that like this was going to happen. I was going to do this, this, and this, and now I was going to sign with Cage Warriors. And So yeah, they're all buzzing for us because it is such a prestigious promotion to be with, and it was just like a sign that like everything's starting to pay off now. It's starting to show that you're getting recognised and stuff. But like I've been telling people this was going to happen for a long, long time. So yeah.
With Cage Warriors, I can't remember how it goes. Are you officially like signed with Cage? You can't fight anywhere else now, can you? I think you only have to fight on Cage Warriors.
Yeah, that's how it is. So I'm just exclusive with Cage Warriors, yeah.
That's so class, and it's such a clear path for you now. I think because with some of those guys maybe moving to the UFC in the featherweight division, it's wide open now for a guy like yourself, a young, hungry lad, to come in and to come in and take that crown and get on a big stage. And with fight styles like you do, don't think it'll be long before people that don't necessarily know you will start taking notice because, like I said, eight finishes, 8 wins, kind of speaks for itself a little bit. Obviously, you kind of went. I think you didn't. I think you went 4-4, didn't you? And then, or was it 4-3? 3-4.
No, I went 2-4 first.
2-4, and then you've just gone on this absolute tear. And like I said, I think I can just attribute that to like hard work and putting on those kind of streaks is what gets you noticed by these big shows. Just want to kind of talk about that Bellator thing, because I think they wanted to put you in against Magomed Sharipov's brother. What kind of happened with that? Because they'd announced you on Twitter saying, yeah, we've got Bailey Gilbert versus Magomed Sharipov, but then I said to you, and you were like, nah, but I can't remember kind of what happened.
Yeah, no. So I originally got offered a different guy from Bellator, and then obviously we're looking at the different options and stuff, and then we were looking at Bellator, and then they changed it, and I hadn't agreed to either of them. And then I was going with Cage Warriors anyway, so it was like, and then it got announced, and people messaged us and stuff. I was like, no, like that's not what I've agreed to. I'm signing with Cage Warriors. I want the path to the UFC. That's the way I want to go. Yeah, so it was all just a bit weird. I don't know whether the wires got crossed between the guy that contacted me and Bellator or however, but like if you want, like I said, watching an interview from a year ago, I was aiming for Cage Warriors. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't want to sound like I'm slagging Bellator off or anything like that, but it doesn't seem to be as well run as like your Cage Warriors and your PFL and your UFC. Would you agree with that? Because like I said, I don't even know sometimes when there's fight cards on Bellator until like a night before, and I'm like, shit, this is on.
The promotion with Bellator is pretty mad. Like the marketing side of it is mad. Like even when it's on BBC Three, you just don't hear much about it. Like when the UFC's on and Volkanovski's fighting Islam, like it's everywhere. It's all you see. Like my Instagram is just all fight stuff. Like it's all I get. My Facebook's all fight stuff. All I've got on it's fighters, promotions, all that kind of stuff. Like when the UFC, Cage Warriors as well, even PFL in Europe, like you know when it's on, you know who's fighting. But with Bellator, it's just kind of shit. That's on the night. Like I'll get a text from my dad. My dad's proper into his MMA now. Like I've converted him. He didn't used to know the rules or nothing like that. He'll watch it. He'd be like, did you watch that fight last night? I'm like, no, I haven't even watched it yet. But normally he'll text me like, oh, Bellator's on BBC Three. I'm like, is it? Who's on? He's like, you are Romero. I was like, fuck off.
You've got like one of the biggest one of the biggest people want to watch in your Romero, and you don't even market it. It's absolute. It's a bit ridiculous, but like I said, I think you've definitely made the right choice there. You've got such a clear path. Just going on to people like your Romero on that. Have you got any like favorite fighters that you've loved watching over the years? People that you've kind of have inspired you?
Yeah, same mate. Like I've never really been inspired by anyone. I've always just been my path, and I want to do it my way. And like I want to be, I don't want to be the next anyone. Like I just want to be the first me to do it how I do it, and like my fight style is my way, the way like I talk, and like the way I come across. Me, it's not based off like you get so many people impersonating Conor McGregor and trying to be that kind of mouthy thing. Like just and it's just not original. I just try to be as like original and true to myself as possible. But in terms of like fighters who I've loved to watch, I love the way Henry Cejudo fights. I think that's a great way to. I think it's got unreal wrestling's great to watch. I love Nick Diaz just because Nick Diaz is just a boy. Like, if you don't love Nick Diaz, you've got something wrong with you. You're dead inside. You know what I mean? There's so many fighters out there that I kind of like take little bits from that. I like, but I love to watch Henry Cejudo and guys that came from like an athletic background all the way through. Like Yair Rodriguez's striking was unreal. I love Max Holloway as well. I just love the fact that he puts pace on people, and most of these are like close to my weight classes. I love the lighter weight classes and stuff. I think as you get up the weight classes a bit, like especially towards heavyweight, there's not necessarily that kind of speed and technique altogether. Whereas like the smaller guys can go like, if you watch Moreno versus Figgy, they're all them fights. They're like technical as out, fast paced for the full 5 rounds, like stuff like that. So yeah, but if you want to talk favorite fights, I love Cub Swanson versus Do Hoi Choi, like hands down the best fight I've ever seen. If anyone said, how do I get this person in MMA? I put that fight on and watch that fight.
Yeah, that's a fantastic fight. I kind of go off like some weird fights. Frank Camacho versus Damien, and I can't remember his surname. That was a fight on like a prelim on a fight night, and it was just unbelievable. No one's ever seen that fight, but it was unbelievable. But go to like Yair Rodriguez. How do you think that fight's gonna go? Because it's dangerous. Because Yair seems to keep improving. Like he looked phenomenal even against Max, he looked great. How do you see that fight going with Volk?
Mate, do you know what it is? Like he does just he keeps evolving like and changing, and like he's so creative with his striking, and people almost forget like how good his grappling is as well. So it's interesting. It's also mad how short Volkanovski is. Like I seen a post today of him lined up next to his past 5 opponents, like height wise, and they're all like 5'9", 5'10". Max is like 5'11", and then you've got him. What is he like 5'5", 5'6"? Like it's crazy, but Volk's just so well rounded, man, and like from put on like fight Max that we did, I think he gave Islam a good run. I don't think he beat Islam. I think everyone calling that a robbery is just talking rubbish. Islam won that fight, but for him to give Islam that kind of run when he's got that same kind of size advantage on him, I just think Volk's in a pretty good spot right now. So I'd probably just put money on Volk, but every time I've ever bet on MMA, it doesn't come in. So don't take my word for it.
Not me either. And I've been watching it. I think my first time I watched the sport was I was 13, so I've been watching the sport 14 years now, and I'm terrible. I used to write articles for a website that me and my mate used to run, and he used to do predictions, and I'd put predictions. I predicted Gerald Meerschaert to beat Hamzat Chimaev.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. That's probably worse than me. I think the closest I ever came was when Khabib fought Gaethje, and I had nearly the whole card on of like winners, and I was up to the main event, and they were all came in. I had like nine in a row of like all wins, and I could have cashed out off like a fiver for like $1.5 grand, and I was sat there and I was like, nah, they've convinced us. Gaethje's an all-American wrestler. He's got the style to beat him. They had us convinced with the marketing, mate, and he came out in a completely different stance, and he was like backing up. And I was like, fuck's sake, and I couldn't cash out. I was like, I knew I'd already lost my money before I lost it, and that was like the last time I ever put a bet on. Because after that, I was like, nah.
No, not for me. That I'd like to say, I don't even bet on MMA anymore. I barely even really even bet on football because I can't be asked with it. Do you watch any other sports, or did you ever do any other sports when you were younger?
So no, I didn't do any other sports. I'm shit at football. Like, um, I, I've always had good cardio and been strong. I've always been fit, but I never really done other sports. Like I always just kind of trained for the sake of training. Um, no, I'm not really good at much else, mate. I can fight and that's about it. And watching sports wise, I'll watch Newcastle play. Um, Outside of that, I'm not really bothered. I'll watch the World Cup with my mates if it's on. Um, Boxing, watch some boxing sometimes, but it's only really like the top fights that are interesting. Most of them are pretty boring. Um, Not even that much sub only stuff really. Like the odd match, like I hear good things about it, I'll go put it on, try and learn some stuff from it. Um, But yeah, mainly just MMA, mate. I live, eat, and breathe it. Like it's what I'm good at. Like I can't do a lot, but I can fight. So
Sounds really cliche to say, but do you think you were like born for this?
oh mate, 100%. Like I've never clicked with like something so much as in like I do well at it. I absorb the information well. And yeah, I think it's one of those things where like when someone's getting taught something and they kind of make the connection and they kind of like start putting it together in the head like that. Like if you show us a move, I'll be able to figure it. Like I'll be able to figure it out. The whole kind of the little nuances of where you need to be and how like the positions and how you load your body up, like it all kind of clicks with me and it makes sense. And I absolutely love it at the same time. So yeah, like if there was anything I was made to do, it was to hurt people.
Yeah, well, I think, like I said, that's like perfect description of yourself, and I think perfect way to kind of wrap this up today. I'm buzzing like to get you on Cage Warriors, mate. Like I said, it's absolutely class. I can't wait to watch you on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be kind of surreal for me, obviously, watching you coming from the regional shows to now watching you fighting on UFC Fight Pass. It's going to be absolutely incredible. But one thing I like to ask people, and I think we've already answered it, but I'll ask you again, is why should people tune in to Cage Warriors UFC Fight Pass to watch you fight?
Mate, if you like violence, you're gonna like this. You don't want to miss it. Like that's how I explain all my fights. If you want to see something, you want to see violence. So yeah, tune in and watch me make a statement.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm confident that that'll happen. But no, thank you so much for coming on, Bailey. I know we tried to arrange this for a while, and I had to shuffle things around, but I'm buzzing. I got you on, and like I said, just pleasure to have you here, and a pleasure to kind of see you do your thing in a couple of weeks' time. But no, thank you so much for giving me the time and coming on, mate.
Mate, cheers for having us on. Like, I appreciate it, guys like yourself who give these fighters like a boost and a bit of promotion. Like it only benefits me and benefits yourself. Like it works for both of us. And like without you guys, like I think it's so hard for fighters to get their kind of persona out there without getting on Instagram and chatting shit to opponents and stuff like that. So I think it's good. Like stuff like this is meant for fighters. So yeah, I appreciate you doing what you're doing, having us on there.
Yeah, not a problem. And like I said, free to come on whenever you want, mate. Because like I said, it's been a great chat. But if I don't see you, I won't see you in London because I'm not there. But I will see you in Newcastle on that Newcastle card, and we'll probably see some carnage. But no, I'll let you get off and take care on your on your evening, mate. And all the best for London.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Not a problem. Thank you, Bailey. Cheers.